My childhood friend despises me for being clingy, insecure, and a stutterer. He orders me not to bother him at school unless necessary, and to go to his roommate instead. I sheepishly run to his roommate for everything. In return, I bring his roommate breakfast, water, and check in on him constantly. Just as I'm rushing with my fresh scholarship certificate to share the joy with his roommate, my childhood friend blocks my path and demands, "Why aren't you replying to my messages?" Behind me, his roommate pushes him aside. "Sorry, excuse me. You're blocking my view of my boyfriend." Chapter 1. The heat, the wait, and the wrong ride. The sun hammered down on the cracked asphalt outside the train station, turning the air into a thick, shimmering soup. I stood there with 2 duffels strapped across my chest and a backpack that felt like it was stuffed with bricks, sweat gluing my t-shirt to my spine. Every few minutes I checked my phone. No new texts, no missed calls, just the same unread message I'd sent Jason 3 hours earlier. Landed. At the exit like we planned. Nothing. I shifted my weight, the plastic handle of one bag cutting into my palm. Mom had sewn an extra strap onto it the night before we left, using the last yard of fabric she'd saved from her own wedding dress. "First impressions matter, Alex," she'd said, needle flashing under the single bulb in our trailer. "You're heading to the big leagues now." I hadn't had the heart to tell her the big leagues already felt like they were playing without me. Another 20 minutes crawled by. A family beside me piled into a minivan, laughing loud enough to drown out the cicadas. I wiped my forehead with the hem of my shirt and considered my options. The campus was supposedly a 40-minute cab ride. I had exactly $63 in my checking account until the work-study checks kicked in. I could wait a little longer. Jason was busy. He told me that in the same breath he told me not to cling. My phone buzzed. Finally. Except it wasn't Jason. Unknown number. "You the kid with the red backpack and the death grip on 2 duffels? Look left." I looked. A tall guy in a faded blue baseball cap and sunglasses leaned against a silver SUV, one hand raised in a lazy wave. He was grinning like he'd just spotted an old friend instead of a sweaty stranger who probably smelled like train and desperation. I hesitated, then took a cautious step forward. "Alex?" he called, pushing off the car. "Jason said you'd be the one looking like you were about to bolt for the hills. I'm Parker, his roommate. He got tied up with some orientation thing and sent me instead. Hope that's cool." I opened my mouth to answer and felt the familiar hitch in my throat. The one that always showed up when I was nervous or lying or both. Parker didn't wait for the stutter. He just popped the back hatch and hefted one of my bags like it weighed nothing. "Cat got your tongue? Or did Jason already scare you off?" He flashed another easy grin, the kind that probably got him out of trouble and into parties in equal measure. "Come on, AC's blasting. You look 2 minutes from melting." I followed, clutching the second bag to my chest like a shield. The inside of the SUV smelled like coffee and spearmint gum. Parker slid behind the wheel, tossed his sunglasses onto the dash, and glanced over as I fumbled with the seatbelt. The buckle refused to click. My palms were slick. The harder I tried, the more it slipped. "Here," he said, reaching across the console. His fingers brushed mine warm, calloused from something that definitely wasn't textbooks, and the belt snapped into place with a decisive snick. "Safety first, Midwest. We're not savages." Heat flooded my face. "Thanks. No sweat." He threw the car into drive and pulled away from the curb, one hand on the wheel, the other drumming a rhythm on his thigh. "So, Jason says you're from the same nowhere town he crawled out of. Guessing you've got stories." I swallowed. "Not really. Everyone's got stories. Some just take longer to tell." He shot me a sideways look, eyes crinkling at the corners. "Relax, I don't bite. Unless it's the last slice of pizza, then all bets are off." The tension in my shoulders eased a fraction. Outside, the station gave way to tree-lined roads and brick buildings that looked like they'd been around since the Revolution. Elite University, the acceptance letter had said. A place where futures were forged. Right now it just looked intimidating. Parker filled the silence without making it feel forced. He talked about the dining hall that served decent burgers on Thursdays, the professor who graded like he had a personal grudge against sleep, the dorm laundry machines that ate quarters and socks with equal enthusiasm. Every so often he'd toss a question my way. "You play any sports? Favorite diner food?" And when my answers came out halting, he didn't flinch. He just nodded like I'd said something profound and kept going. By the time we pulled up to the freshman dorms, I'd almost forgotten I was supposed to be heartbroken that Jason hadn't shown. Parker killed the engine and hopped out, hauling both my bags before I could protest. "Third floor, room 312, he said. Reading the housing slip, I hadn't even noticed he'd snatched from my folder. Elevators a myth around here, but the stairs build character. Or so the upperclassmen claim while they watch us suffer. I trailed him up the concrete steps, the echo of our footsteps bouncing off cinderblock walls. Halfway up, he glanced back. "Fair warning, you're a senior who thinks icebreakers are a personality. If she asks you to share your spirit animal, lie. Mine's a sloth, and she still hasn't forgiven me." A surprised laugh slipped out before I could stop it. Parker's grin widened like he'd won a bet with himself. At the door to 312, he set the bags down and leaned against the frame, arms crossed. "All set. Keys should be inside with your welcome packet. If you get lost, hit me up." He pulled out his phone, thumb flying across the screen. "Added you to my contacts under new kid who owes me pizza. Fair." I fumbled my own phone out, added him back. His contact photo was a blurry shot of an orange cat mid-yawn. The name read simply, Parker. "Cool." He pushed off the doorframe, ruffled my hair like we'd known each other since kindergarten. "Unpack, breathe. Try not to let the orientation packet scare you. Text if you need anything. Even if it's just to complain about the mattress. They're basically cardboard with delusions of grandeur." He was halfway down the hall when he called over his shoulder. "And hey, Alex, welcome to the chaos." The door clicked shut behind me, leaving the room quiet except for the hum of the mini-fridge. I stood there a long moment, bags at my feet, Parker's easy laughter still echoing in my ears. Jason's silence felt suddenly smaller, less like a wall and more like a door I didn't have to keep knocking on. My phone buzzed in my pocket. A new message from Parker. "Pro tip. Dining hall closes at 8. If you're hungry later, I know a food truck that does loaded fries worth selling your soul for. Just say the word." I stared at the screen, thumb hovering. Then, before the old hesitation could creep in, I typed back. "Deal." Chapter 2, Old Ghosts and New Lifelines. The first time I realized I was different. I was 6 and standing in the middle of a circle of kids who'd decided my silence was an invitation to invent their own version of me. They called me Mute Alex and poked my ribs until I tried to answer. The words jammed behind my teeth like marbles. And when they finally spilled out, slow, broken, wrong, the laughter hit harder than any shove. I learned early that speaking was a gamble, and losing meant shrinking. Jason was the exception. He showed up the summer the river flooded our trailer park, sweeping away the only home I'd ever known. I remember clutching a soggy backpack while Mom screamed my name from the porch that wasn't there anymore. Then Jason's hand closed around mine, warm and steady, pulling me through knee-deep water to the dry safety of his family's brick house on the hill. "Stick with me, kid," he'd said, like it was the most natural thing in the world. "I've got you." He made good on it. When the bigger boys cornered me behind the feed store, Jason stepped in front of the fists. When the teacher asked why I hadn't read aloud, Jason answered for me, voice ringing clear across the classroom. He taught me to call him boss, because it was the one word I could say without tripping, and he wore it like a badge. For years, he was the shield between me and the world. Then he left for college and the shield cracked. It started with shorter replies, then none at all. I'd text him about the science fair, the new scar on my neck from the boiling water incident, the way the kids at school had started calling me Freak Show. He'd read the messages, those little blue check marks mocked me, and respond hours later with a thumbs-up emoji or worse, nothing. The last time I reached out in the middle of the night, throat raw from crying, he'd fired back, "Alex, it's 2 a.m. I'm not your therapist. Figure it out." I stared at the screen until the letters blurred, then deleted the thread so I wouldn't have to see it again. I figured it out. I studied until my eyes burned, until the stutter quieted under the weight of formulas and flashcards. When the acceptance letter came, thick cream paper, embossed seal, I ran to Mom, waving it like a flag. She cried into her apron, then pulled out the wedding fabric she'd saved for 20 years and started sewing me a button-down that actually fit. "My boy's going places," she kept saying, voice thick. I didn't tell her the place still felt like a cage with better Wi-Fi. Campus life was a different kind of loud. The first week, I got lost 3 times trying to find the registrar. The dining hall had 12 stations and 0 signs that made sense. I stood in front of the course portal for an hour, cursor blinking, too afraid to click anything in case I chose wrong. Every time I opened my mouth to ask for help, the old panic clawed up my throat. People's eyes glazed over when the words wouldn't come. Some walked away mid-sentence. I started timing my questions for when the halls were empty. Then I remembered Parker. His contact was still at the top of my recents, that stupid cat avatar staring at me. I typed and deleted the same message 4 times before hitting send. Hey, any tips for picking classes without screwing up my entire future? The reply came in under a minute. On it. Gimme 5. What followed was a voice note. Parker's voice, lazy and warm, walking me through the portal like we were sitting side by side. He flagged the easy psych elective, warned me off the chemprof who docked points for breathing too loud. Even sent a screenshot of his own schedule with notes in the margins. Pro tip, Tuesday/Thursday means longer weekends. You're welcome. I listened to it twice, thumb hovering over the save button like it was contraband. The next day I needed to recharge my meal card and couldn't find the machine. Another text. Parker met me outside the student center, hands in his pockets, sunglasses reflecting the sky. Follow the yellow brick road, he said, nodding toward a side door I'd walked past a dozen times. Inside, he swiped his own card to demo the process, then bought me a coffee from the vending machine for emotional damages. When I tried to pay him back, he waved it off. Consider it a welcome to the jungle tax credit. Bit by bit, the campus stopped feeling like a maze designed to swallow me whole. Parker became my human GPS library late policy. He sent a photo of the hours taped to the circulation desk. Best study spot that wasn't infested with pre-meds? Second floor lounge, northeast corner, outlet under the ugly abstract painting. When I worked up the nerve to send a voice note asking about the outdoor club sign-up, my tongue tripping over every consonant, he texted back. Heard every word. Sign-ups Thursday at the quad. I'll swing by if you want backup. I didn't take the backup, but I went. And when I came back to the dorm with a sticker on my jacket and a schedule in my hand, I felt something I hadn't in years. Proud. In return, I started small. Parker mentioned offhand that he skipped breakfast before 8 a.m. classes. The next morning, I bought an extra bagel, wrapped it in a napkin, and left it on his dorm's doorknob with a sticky note. Fuel. No name. I was halfway down the hall when my phone buzzed. Oh? Was this you, Midwest? I typed back. Maybe. You're a sneaky one. Debt repaid in coffee tomorrow. Don't argue. I didn't. Afternoons, I learned his rhythm. Practice on the intramural courts ended around 4. I'd linger by the chain-link fence with a cold bottle of water, pretending I was just cutting through. The first time I handed it over, Parker's teammates whistled. Yo, Park, your fan club's growing. Parker caught the bottle midair, twisted the cap, and took a long drink. Water ran down his chin. He wiped it with the back of his wrist. Fan club's exclusive, he said, eyes on me. Membership 1. Benefits. Hydration and my undying gratitude. The guys groaned. One of them, Adam, I think, clutched his chest. I'm wounded. Where's my water boy? Get your own. Parker shot back, but he was smiling. He ruffled my hair again, a habit I was starting to expect. Thanks, Alex. I floated back to my dorm, the echo of their laughter chasing me. For the first time since the flood, I wasn't the kid hiding behind someone else's shadow. I was the one holding the water. That night, I opened my laptop and started a new document. At the top I typed, things I can do without Jason. Number 1, breathe. Number 2, ask for help. Number 3, hand someone a bottle of water and watch them smile like I'd given them the moon. I saved the file under progress. Chapter 3, the bottle, the glare, and the line in the sand. The late afternoon sun slanted across the basketball courts, turning the asphalt into a skillet and the chain-link fence into a cage of gold. I hovered near the gate with a chilled bottle of water pressed against my palm, condensation dripping between my fingers. Parker had just finished a pickup game. His gray t-shirt clung to his back, and his hair stuck up in sweaty spikes. He jogged over, grinning when he spotted me. Tell me that's for me and not some elaborate prank, he panted, reaching out. I handed it over. No prank, just hydration. He twisted the cap and drank half in one go, throat working. Adam and the rest of the guys were still arguing over a foul call, but Parker leaned against the fence beside me, close enough that I could smell the salt on his skin. You're spoiling me, Midwest. Pretty soon I'll expect a parade after every layup. A laugh slipped out before I could stop it. I draw the line at confetti cannons. Deal breaker, he said, mock serious. I require glitter and a brass band. We were still grinning when a shadow fell across the concrete. Jason stood 3 feet away, arms crossed, jaw tight. He wore the same scowl he used to reserve for kids who cheated at kickball. His gaze flicked from the water bottle to Parker's easy stance, then to me. "Alex," he said, voice flat, "didn't I tell you not to hunt me down on campus unless it was life or death?" I opened my mouth, but nothing came. The old panic fluttered in my chest. Parker straightened, smile fading. "He's not hunting you, Jason. He's bringing me water. Big difference." Jason ignored him. "You've got a phone. Use it. Or better yet, figure your shit out on your own for once." The words landed like slaps. Heat crawled up my neck. I wanted to explain that I hadn't even known Jason was on the courts, that I wasn't clinging, that I was trying to be useful for someone who actually wanted me around. But the sentences tangled, and all that escaped was a strangled sound. Jason's lip curled. "See? Same old song. You latch on to whoever's closest, don't you? First me, now him. Parker's too nice to say it, but you're exhausting." Parker stepped forward, planting himself between us. "Back off." Jason finally looked at him. "This isn't your fight." "Wrong." Parker's voice was quiet, but it carried. "You don't get to talk to him like that. Not on my court." Jason barked a humorless laugh. "Your court? Since when do you play knight in shining armor for clingy freshmen? Since you decided being a decent human was optional." Parker's shoulders were rigid. "Alex isn't your punching bag. He never was." The air crackled. Around us, the game had stopped. Adam and the others watched like this was the season finale of some drama they hadn't signed up for. I felt every stare like a fingertip on a bruise. Jason's eyes narrowed on me. "You gonna hide behind him forever? Or are you going to grow a spine and admit you're just trading one crutch for another?" I flinched. The scar on my neck burned under my collar. Parker took one step closer to Jason, close enough that their shoes nearly touched. "Apologize." "For what?" "Telling the truth." Jason's voice rose. "He's been glued to me since we were kids. I finally get space and he glues himself to you. Classic Alex. Can't stand on his own 2 feet." Parker's hands curled into fists at his sides. "Last chance." Jason rolled his eyes. "Or what? You'll bench press me into submission?" "No," Parker said. "I'll make sure everyone on this campus knows what kind of guy you really are. Starting with the RA who's dating your lab partner." Jason's bravado flickered. He glanced at the growing audience, then back at me. "Fine. Whatever. Enjoy your new lapdog, Parker." He turned to leave, but not before muttering loud enough for me to hear. "Hope he doesn't drool on your sneakers." He stalked off. The gate clanged shut behind him. Silence stretched, thick and uncomfortable. Then Adam cleared his throat. Anyone else need a water break?" A couple of the guys laughed nervously and drifted back to the game. Parker didn't move. He stared after Jason for a long second, jaw clenched, before turning to me. "You okay?" His voice was softer now, the anger banked but still glowing. I nodded, even though my hands were shaking. "I didn't come here for him." "I know." He reached out, hesitated, then rested a hand on my shoulder. "You don't owe him anything. Not explanations, not apologies, nothing." I swallowed hard. "He's not wrong about the clinging part." Parker's thumb brushed the nape of my neck, right over the scar. "There's a difference between needing help and being a burden. You're not a burden." The touch was brief, but it grounded me. I managed a shaky breath. "Come on," he said. "Let's get out of here before Adam starts a betting pool on round 2. We walked off the courts together. The sun was lower now, painting long shadows across the path. Parker bumped my arm with his. "For the record, I like the water service. 5 stars. Would recommend." A surprised laugh bubbled up. "Even without the brass band?" "Especially without. Glitter's a nightmare to clean." We kept walking. Behind us, the rhythmic thud of basketballs resumed, but the sting of Jason's words lingered like a bruise. Parker didn't fill the silence with jokes this time. He just stayed close, a steady presence at my side. When we reached the fork where our paths split, his dorm one way, mine the other, he stopped. "Hey, tomorrow, same time, I've got a rematch with those clowns, and I could use my secret weapon." I looked at the empty bottle still in his hand. "Secret weapon?" "You," he said simply. "You show up, I play better. Science." I rolled my eyes, but my chest felt lighter. "Deal. But I'm upgrading to Gatorade." He grinned. "High maintenance. I like it." As I headed toward my building, The campus didn't feel quite so vast anymore. Jason's voice echoed in my head. Exhausting, clingy, lapdog. But Parker's words were louder. You're not a burden. For the first time, I started to believe it might be true. Chapter 4. The post, the silence, and the hug that held everything. The first sign that something was wrong came in the dining hall. I reached for a tray and the guy beside me, someone I'd shared notes with in lecture, suddenly remembered an urgent text and vanished. 2 tables over, a girl I recognized from orientation glanced up, whispered to her friend, and they both looked away too fast. I told myself it was nothing. Freshman jitters. Everyone was still figuring out who belonged where. By Wednesday, the whispers had teeth. I slid into my usual seat in the back of Psych 101, notebook open, pen ready. The girl who normally sat beside me gathered her stuff and moved 3 rows forward without a word. When I raised my hand to ask the TA about the reading quiz, he answered facing the whiteboard, like eye contact might burn him. After class, I found my backpack zipper open and my water bottle missing. Someone had drawn a cartoon speech bubble on my notebook. Shoo. I wish I could say I laughed it off. Instead, I spent the afternoon in a bathroom stall, palms pressed to my ears until the bell rang for the next period. That night, I finally saw the post. It was pinned to the top of the anonymous campus forum, bold red title screaming across my phone screen. Freshman predator? Rural stutterer climbs social ladder 1 pity point at a time. The details were surgical. Midwest trailer park. Dead dad. Mom who cleaned houses. Speech impediment that made group projects painful. A scar on the back of the neck from who knows what. And the kicker, already latched onto a certain rich basketball star. Wonder what he's getting in return. There were photos, grainy, clearly zoomed in. Me handing Parker water. Me laughing at something he said outside the library. Me looking small and awkward next to his easy height. The comments underneath were a landfill of cruelty. Bet he cries to get attention. Parker's too nice. Someone warn him. Stuttering is contagious, right? Keep your distance. I read until the words blurred. Then I closed the app, powered off my phone, and sat on my bed in the dark. My roommate, Jace, came in around midnight. He saw me, froze, and pretended to check his email until I pretended to sleep. The next morning, I skipped breakfast and lunch. By evening, the dorm hallway felt like a gauntlet. Doors cracked open as I passed, then clicked shut. Someone had taped a printed screenshot of the post to the bulletin board outside my room. I tore it down, hands shaking so badly the paper ripped in half. I stopped texting Parker. The first day, I told myself it was temporary. The second day, I deleted our entire chat so I wouldn't be tempted. I rerouted my walks to avoid the courts. When I saw his silver SUV in the parking lot, I ducked behind a maintenance van until he drove away. I was protecting him, I reasoned. The post hadn't named him outright, but everyone knew. If I stayed away, the vultures would lose interest. They didn't. Friday, I was crossing the quad when Parker appeared out of nowhere, blocking my path. His hair was messy, like he'd been running. Alex. I tried to step around him. He mirrored me. 3 days, he said. No texts. No water bottle fairy. You vanish from the courts like I've got the plague. What the hell? I stared at my shoes. Dizzy. Bullshit. He pulled out his phone, thumbed to the forum, and held it up. The post glowed between us. This why? My throat closed. I managed a nod. Parker's jaw flexed. He scrolled, eyes scanning the comments faster than I could track. With every line, his expression darkened. Brows drawing together, mouth flattening into a hard line. When he reached the part speculating about what I was giving him in exchange for protection, his grip tightened until his knuckles went white. Couldn't breathe. I waited for the disgust, the polite distance, the gentle letdown. Instead, he locked the screen and shoved the phone in his pocket. Look at me. Couldn't. Alex. His voice cracked like a whip, soft but undeniable. I lifted my eyes. His were blazing, but not at me. None of this is your fault. The words hit harder than any insult. Something inside me fractured. My vision swam. I should go, I rasped, turning. He caught my wrist. Not happening. Next thing I knew, he was steering me across the quad, past curious stares and hushed voices, into the narrow alley between the music building and the chapel. The shade was cooler. The noise faded to a distant hum. He stopped under the ivy-covered arch, let go of my wrist, and just looked at me. Then he opened his arms. I crashed into him without thinking. My face pressed into his shoulder, and the tears I'd been swallowing for days finally broke free, hot, messy, unstoppable. He held me like he was trying to keep all the pieces from scattering. One hand cupped the back of my head, the other wrapped around my back, solid and warm. I felt his chin rest on my hair. "I've got you," he murmured. "I've got you." I don't know how long we stood there. Long enough for the bell tower to chime 6. Long enough for my breathing to slow and the sobs to taper into hiccups. When I finally pulled back, his shirt was damp and wrinkled. I tried to apologize. He shook his head. "Shut up," he said gently. "Just breathe." He kept one arm around my shoulders as he pulled out his phone again. I watched, dazed, as he opened the university's official complaint portal and started typing. His thumbs flew. Harassment, invasion of privacy, targeted defamation. He attached screenshots, timestamps, the works. When he hit submit, the confirmation ping sounded like a gunshot in the quiet. "That's step 1, he said. "Step 2 is louder." Before I could ask what that meant, he opened the campus social app. Real name, verified account, and posted, "At Parker Official. To whoever's hiding behind anonymity to bully Alex. Congrats, you're famous. Every word you wrote is now with the dean, IT, and legal. Alex is kind, brilliant, and tougher than you'll ever be. He's my friend. Touch him again and you deal with me. Screenshot this. Share it. Let's see how brave you are in daylight." He hit post, then looked at me. "Step 3 is dinner. You haven't eaten since Tuesday. I can hear your stomach plotting a coup." I laughed. Actually laughed. Wet and broken but real. He squeezed my shoulder. "Step 4, he continued, is you stop ghosting me. I miss my water boy." The nickname should have stung. Instead, it felt like a tether pulling me back to shore. We walked to the late-night taco truck parked behind the science labs. He ordered enough food for 4 people and made me eat 2 carnitas before he was satisfied. While we sat on the curb, salsa dripping onto paper plates, he outlined the plan. Report follow-ups, counseling referral, maybe a public statement from the student government. Practical, step-by-step, like he was coaching a play instead of dismantling a witch hunt. When he dropped me at my dorm, he didn't let me say goodnight alone. He pulled me into another hug, shorter this time, but no less fierce. "Tomorrow," he said against my ear, "you're coming to the courts. Same time. Bring the good Gatorade. We're ending this week on a win." I nodded into his shoulder. "Okay." As I climbed the stairs, the weight on my chest hadn't vanished, but it had shifted. Someone was carrying half of it now, and for the first time since the post went live, I didn't feel like I was sinking. Chapter 5, the microphone, the threat, and the first clear no. Parker's idea arrived in a text at 2:14 a.m., a time when only insomniacs and overcaffeinated sophomores were awake. Radio station. New voices segment. You write it, you read it. I'll be in the booth. No pressure. I stared at the ceiling until the letters stopped swimming. Public speaking. A microphone. My voice broken, halting, raw broadcast to every dorm speaker on campus. The same campus that had spent a week shredding me in comment sections. I typed no 3 times and deleted it each time. 2:47 I answered, "I'll think about it." He replied with a single thumbs-up emoji and, infuriatingly, went to sleep. The next morning he was waiting outside my lecture hall, 2 coffees in hand. He didn't ask if I'd decided. He just handed me a paper cup and said, "The slot's Thursday at 6. Deadline for submissions is tonight. I already reserved the studio." "You didn't." "I did. And I bribed the producer with homemade brownies." "You're welcome." I took a sip. It was exactly the right amount of sugar. "You're impossible. Persistent," he corrected. "There's a difference." I wrote the piece in the library basement, headphones on, world muted. 3 drafts for 100 words, every sentence carved out of scar tissue. I read it aloud to the empty study Corel until the stutter eased into something almost steady. When I emailed it to the station, my finger hovered over send for a full minute. Parker's voice in my head, "You're tougher than they'll ever be," finally pressed the button for me. Thursday, 5:52 p.m. The radio station smelled like burnt popcorn and old vinyl. The producer, a senior named Maya, gave me a quick tour. Soundproof booth, padded walls, a microphone the size of my fist. Parker leaned against the glass window separating us from the control board, arms crossed, giving me the same calm nod he used before free throws. Maya counted down. "In 3, 2. The red light blinked on. My heart tried to punch through my ribs. I leaned in. "Hi, this is Alex." A pause. The first word always stuck hardest. I felt it catch, then slide. "You might know me from a forum post. The one that called me a predator, a leech, a walking pity party. I'm here to set the record straight." I told them about the trailer that flooded when I was 8. About the scar on my neck and the pot of boiling water that taught me pain has a sound. About growing up with a mom who worked double shifts so I could afford the application fee. About the stutter that turns every sentence into a minefield. I didn't pretty it up. I let the silences sit where they fell. But here's what the post got wrong. I continued, voice gaining traction. I didn't come here to climb anyone. I came to learn. To build something that doesn't wash away in the next storm. And yeah, I've got friends now. One in particular who refuses to let me disappear. I looked through the glass at Parker. His eyes were soft, proud. Parker didn't save me. He reminded me I could save myself. I rapped with the line I'd rehearsed until it felt like truth. I can't choose where I started, but I can choose where I'm going. And I'm going forward. Maya gave me a thumbs up. Parker's grin could have powered the building. The recording ended. For a moment, the booth was so quiet I heard my pulse. Then Parker burst in, ignoring Maya's protests about protocol. "You were incredible." He pulled me into a hug that lifted my sneakers off the floor. "They're playing it at 8. Whole campus." I buried my face in his shoulder. "I'm gonna throw up. Please aim for the trash can, not my shoes." The broadcast hit at 8 sharp. I listened from my dorm bed. Lights off. Jace pretending not to eavesdrop from his desk. When my own voice filled the room, shaky at first, then stronger, I didn't recognize it. It sounded like someone who belonged. The response was immediate. Texts from numbers I didn't know. That took guts. "Proud of you, man." A group chat I'd never been added to suddenly included me. The forum post dropped off the front page by morning, buried under a wave of shares linking to the radio segment. Parker celebrated by dragging me to the courts at dawn for a victory lap. Literally. He made me run suicides while he timed me with his phone. "Character building," he panted between whistles. I flipped him off and kept running. The high lasted exactly 48 hours. Saturday evening, I cut through the grove behind the library, earbuds in, replaying the recording for the 100th time. I was smiling, actually smiling, when Jason stepped out from behind an oak like he'd been waiting for the perfect cinematic moment. "Real cute," he said. "The radio thing. Very inspirational." I yanked out an earbud. "Move." He didn't. "We need to talk." "We're done talking." Jason's eyes were bloodshot, his usual polish fraying at the edges. "You think you can just erase me? After everything?" "I'm not erasing you. You did that yourself." He took a step closer. "Parker's not gonna want you when he realizes what a project you are. The stuttering, the baggage, the—" "Stop." The word came out sharp. No hitch. I felt it land between us like a thrown knife. Jason blinked. "Thrown. You don't get to." I said stop. I stepped forward until we were toe-to-toe. "You don't get to threaten me anymore. Or my mom. Or Parker. You lost that privilege when you decided my feelings were a joke." His face twisted. "Your mom's still in that shithole town. One call to the right person." You finish that sentence and I swear I'll make sure every coach, every prof, every recruiter knows exactly what kind of guy you are. Starting with the scholarship committee that loves character essays. For the first time, Jason looked small. "I didn't mean." "You did." My voice stayed level, almost conversational. "And I'm done cleaning up after you." I walked past him. He didn't follow. Parker was waiting at the edge of the grove, leaning against a lamppost like he'd been there the whole time. Which, knowing him, he probably had. "You okay?" he asked. I exhaled, shaky but steady. "Yeah, I think I just grew a spine." He slung an arm around my shoulders as we headed toward the dining hall. "Told you it was in there somewhere. Now let's feed it before it stages a coup." That night, I started packing. Not to leave, just to move forward. I booked a cheap rental near campus. 1 bedroom, enough space for mom and whatever furniture we could salvage from the trailer. I emailed FinAid about emergency loans. I made a budget on the back of a syllabus. Every line item felt like a brick in a wall I was building myself. Parker helped without being asked. He showed up with boxes, tape, and a playlist titled Alex's Independence Day. We labeled everything in Sharpie, Mom's dishes, Alex's books, Parker's ego fragile. When the last box was sealed, he flopped onto my bare mattress. You know you're stuck with me, right? Landlords can't evict moral support. I nudged his foot with mine. Define moral support. He grinned up at the ceiling. Someone who brings Gatorade, carries boxes, and looks devastatingly handsome while doing it. I rolled my eyes, but I was smiling. For the first time in years, the future didn't feel like a trap. Felt like a court I could finally play on. Chapter 6. The certificate, the boyfriend, and the life we kept. The scholarship letter arrived on a Tuesday that smelled like spring rain and cafeteria pizza. I was in the computer lab, headphones on, debugging code for extra credit, when the email pinged. Full ride renewal. Top-tier stipend. A note from the dean. Your work ethic is an inspiration. I read it 3 times before the words sank in. Then I printed the certificate on the library's color printer, the one that cost $0.25 a page, and ran. The engineering building was quiet, most students already gone for the weekend. I took the stairs 2 at a time, the paper clutched to my chest like a winning lottery ticket. Parker's lab was on the 3rd floor, door propped open with a sneaker. Inside, he hunched over a 3D printer, swearing softly at a tangle of filament. He looked up when I burst in, breathless. Guess who just became the department's golden child? I waved the certificate. He straightened, eyes widening. No way, let me see. He snatched it, scanned the letter, and let out a whoop loud enough to rattle the beakers. That's my boyfriend, he yelled to the empty room, then caught himself, cheeks flushing. Congrats, man. I laughed, the sound bright and unguarded. Say it again. He stepped closer, voice dropping. That's my boyfriend. Then louder, to the printer. You hear that, Greg? My boyfriend's a genius. The printer whirred, indifferent. I didn't care. The word settled between us, warm and certain. We were still grinning when Jason appeared in the doorway. He looked like he hadn't slept, hair uncombed, hoodie wrinkled. His gaze flicked from the certificate to Parker's arm slung casually around my shoulders. Alex, he said, voice rough, why aren't you answering my texts? I hadn't even noticed them. My inbox was a war zone of deadlines and rental agreements. Jason's name was just another unread line. Parker didn't move. Sorry, man. You're blocking the view. He shifted deliberately, angling his body so Jason had to step aside. My boyfriend's got news. Jason's face crumpled, shock, hurt, something raw. Boyfriend. I met his eyes. Yeah, Parker's my boyfriend. The words came out steady, no stutter, no apology. And I've got a scholarship to celebrate. So if you'll excuse us. Jason opened his mouth, closed it. For the first time, he had nothing to say. Parker steered me past him, certificate still in hand. Dinner's on me. Steak. The good kind. None of that dining hall mystery meat. We ate at a place off campus with real tablecloths and candles in Chianti bottles. Parker ordered for both of us. Then spent the meal stealing my fries and telling the waiter it was my birthday so I'd get free dessert. I let him. When the check came, he slid his card across without looking at the total. Outside, the air was soft and warm. We walked back to the apartment I'd rented for Mom. 2 bedrooms, peeling linoleum, but ours. Parker carried the leftovers in one hand, my hand in the other. Mom arrived the following weekend. Parker rented a truck, loaded it with her ancient couch and the quilt she'd sewn from my old t-shirts. She cried when she saw the place, then cried harder when Parker bowed and called her ma'am, and carried the heavy boxes without being asked. That night he cooked spaghetti with jar sauce and too much garlic. Mom told him every embarrassing story from my childhood, including the time I tried to adopt a raccoon. Parker laughed until he wheezed, then helped her set up her new TV like he'd been doing it his whole life. Summer blurred into fall, then winter. Parker's lease ended. He moved into the 2nd bedroom, temporarily. The temporary became permanent. We painted the walls a soft blue, hung string lights over the couch, argued over whose turn it was to buy coffee filters. He left practice gear on the floor. I left code printouts on the kitchen table. We figured it out. Jason texted once more, a long message full of apologies and excuses. I read it in the laundry room while the dryer thumped. Then I deleted it, blocked the number, and folded Mom's towels into neat squares. Years slipped by in snapshots. First, Mom's first Thanksgiving in the new place, Parker burning the rolls but nailing the gravy. Then, my first conference presentation, Parker in the front row holding a handwritten sign. "My boyfriend's smarter than yours." Finally, the night I defended my dissertation, Parker waiting outside with cheap champagne and a grin that said he'd never doubted me. Graduation day was golden. I threw my cap so high it got stuck in a tree. Mom and Parker stood together in the crowd, waving like lunatics. That night, at the class party, Parker found me on the balcony, city lights glittering below. "Remember the train station?" he asked, leaning against the railing. "You looked like you were about to bolt." I admitted. He turned to face me. "4 years ago, I wanted to kiss you right there in the library grove. Got interrupted by a jerk with timing issues." I smiled. "You're making up for it now?" "Damn right." He cupped my face, thumbs brushing my cheeks. "Alex, I love you. Not the fixed-up version. Not the scholarship kid. You. The guy who brings me water and calls me out when I'm wrong and still blushes when I say boyfriend." My heart was too full for words. I kissed him instead, slow, certain, tasting like champagne in summer. When we pulled apart, the campus stretched out below us, familiar and changed. Later, in our apartment, I opened my laptop to submit a job application. Parker sprawled on the couch, scrolling through photos from the ceremony. He paused on one of us. Me in my gown, him with his arm around my waist, both of us laughing. "This one's going on the fridge," he declared. I glanced over. "We look happy." "We are." He set the phone down, serious now. "You know you never have to prove anything to anyone again, right? Not Jason. Not the forum trolls. Not even yourself." I closed the laptop. "I know, but I still want to. For me." He smiled, soft and proud. "Then I'll keep bringing the Gatorade." I crawled onto the couch beside him, fitting myself against his side. The stutter was still there sometimes. Stress, exhaustion, the occasional bad day, but it no longer defined the room. It was just one note in a song I'd learned to sing. Outside, the city hummed. Inside, Parker's heartbeat steadied mine. I thought of the boy who'd waited at the train station, terrified of taking up space. I thought of the man who'd handed me water and refused to let me disappear. I wasn't that boy anymore. I was the man who'd built a life, scar and stutter and all, and chosen the person I wanted beside me. Parker pressed a kiss to my temple. "Ready for the next game?" I laced my fingers through his. "With you? Always."